So before we jump into the chapter about this whole Naruto one-shot special, you gotta ask yourself, based on reading this, where does this story take place? I'm assuming that it takes place prior to the Naruto Gaiden manga, maybe a couple weeks or a month or so, because I remember correctly, Naruto Gaiden, Mitsuki was transferred into the village just a couple weeks before the story had started. So this is probably a prelude to all of that, but it just makes me think like, yo, if Mitsuki is hiding these secrets of this power that he has, he's, I mean, at the end of the day, going to outrank Boruto and Sarada already. Like, he's way beyond what they are, because you gotta think for a second. I mean, just seeing him in this chapter in action, he seems like he could be already part of the Anbu Black Ops, and meanwhile, he's a part of their little, you know, new Team 7, so to speak, of Boruto and Sarada. So definitely this chapter made me think Mitsuki is on a whole other level. But with all that being said, I gotta say one thing. I am a little bit, just a smidge, disappointed that Mitsuki is another experiment, because we've seen Orochimaru make experiment after experiment. I guess maybe this is his perfect experiment, and it kind of reminds me of the whole thing from like Bleach with Nemu and Mayuri, but I think this is, I guess, a little bit different just in the sense of Orochimaru. I think one of the main goals of why he did this with Mitsuki and why he created him and what he's up to now opposed to what he was doing years ago is he's trying to atone for his sins, and it goes into an even deeper discussion about Jiraiya, because you got to think for a second. Jiraiya, one of the sad things about his death was that he was like, I couldn't accomplish anything I wanted to do in life. I couldn't make my best friend that turned evil go back to the village and change his ways. I couldn't save the world. I couldn't do anything that I wanted to. And we see time and time again that his dreams were accomplished. It just had to be that his death was the catalyst for all this. Because, I mean, Naruto, he took the power that he felt, the anger that he felt, the sadness from Jiraiya, and overcame everything and saved the world. And then I think Orochimaru as well, one of the reasons why he wanted to atone and why he changed was the legacy that Jiraiya left behind. I mean, he already seen, you know, I got my ass whipped time and time again. And then on top of that, the person that was my best friend, he died trying to save everyone. So I think that was a little bit of the impact that changed Orochimaru into what he was in this chapter, and that's basically trying to atone. I think Mitsuki is a symbol of, even though I'm the moon and I never was the part that I should have played with Jiraiya to save the world, ultimately I can have my son do that. I can have this creation. And then in the chapter, I'm kind of curious, so that older Mitsuki, what is it that's different about him that he made a new Mitsuki? Is it that he's not as strong? He couldn't master Sage Mode? Because we see the older Mitsuki that's like smoking a cig, which he looks way cooler than the younger Mitsuki, but I'm guessing that he's just a failure in a way, but Orochimaru kept him around anyway. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is such a fucking weird thing. I guess it's like in Naruto, the characters like to mind fuck the children in order for the greater good, just like Itachi mind fucked Sasuke all those years in order to make him stronger and a better person. They mind fucked the shit out of Mitsuki with this other Mitsuki and making up this whole elaborate ruse. And I'm kind of curious, is it really that his name is Mitsuki, the older one as well? Because why have two children? I mean, if you were going to keep the older one around, why couldn't you just rename this one? I guess it's because of the meaning behind it, the serpent or whatever, but that was just kind of like, so they're your children. You definitely legit consider them your children, but you're going to have them with the same name. I don't know, just weird. And then it kind of makes me think as well, if this is indeed a prelude to Naruto Gaiden, why was he making these Shin? Why was he making the dudes with all the eyes all over them? Is it because he's trying to make a big ass army to protect the world someday? Or why would he continue making experiments if he already has his success right there, Mitsuki, that's gonna basically be what he couldn't be and be the good person to kind of atone for his sins? And then he has older Mitsuki. Why was he making the Shins, and why did he look a little bit more devious and evil? Because I think even though maybe Mitsuki is like his one little act of good in a sense, even though he did help out in the war, but I think even though he was in his mind trying to do some good with Mitsuki and making this whole project or whatever, overall Orochimaru is still gonna be a creep, and he's still gonna be kind of that evilish type of guy that he's been the entire series. I think he's always gonna have his main goals in order, and he doesn't really give a fuck about the means to them. So even though he did something good in this, it's still kind of like shitty, because look what was happening with all the Shins that were going out of control and becoming nut jobs in Naruto Gaiden. And I ain't gonna lie, the design for Mitsuki's Sage Mode, it sucks, because the art for the Boruto manga, which I guess the Boruto manga is gonna continue yet again, I think if anything sequentially, if this is correct, again, I could be wrong, but this would be first, then Naruto Gaiden, then the Boruto movie, and then the Boruto manga, and oh man, we're not going to be able to see this awesome design. I mean, we'll see a variation of it, but based on having, you know, Professor fucking Snape Sasuke and all the characters just looking weird as shit, I don't think we're going to get this awesome design the way it looks, and it really sucks because, again, we have a different artist and different people are taking control of the Boruto manga, but I mean, as a whole, I felt as though a couple things that this one shot really meant and stood for was, of course, giving the origin of Mitsuki, that, you know, basically he's an experiment. Also, what he's going to mean to this team of Boruto and Sarada. He wants to basically be the pillar to help Boruto, because I think Orochimaru in his mind thinks Boruto, he's probably going to inherit what his father was and be able to change the world and change people and make people come around him and stuff like that. So he's going to basically be the pillar to Boruto, and Boruto's going to be the pillar to Sarada in order for Sarada to become Hokage someday. And again, I think it's just a lot of it is Orochimaru's small way of atoning for all the fucked up things he did. I think the top secret mission is basically be on Boruto's side, help him out, make him change the world the same way his father did, and that's Orochimaru kind of trying to atone, which is interesting. It shows a lot of his character, and honestly, it was a nice little interesting thing. It wasn't absolutely shocking or anything like that, but it was nice and suspenseful the way Kishimoto normally does things, and it was a nice treat, honestly. It was a nice way to prep us for Boruto. It just, again, really sucks that we're not going to have Kishimoto doing the art and story, because it's just really interesting the way he always keeps up the suspense in the, what, 40-something page, 50-page chapter. There was a lot of suspenseful moments and a lot of plot twists and stuff like that, and it's like, I hope we get something similar in the Boruto manga. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this was Orochimaru's way of atoning for all the fucked up things he did by creating Mitsuki? Also, do you think the top secret mission is basically to just be by Boruto's side, and of course Boruto will be by Sarada's side? And what do you think about the whole experiment thing? Were you disappointed that, in a sense, it doesn't really matter if Orochimaru has a dick or a pussy? Mitsuki is, you know, an experiment. He's a test tube baby. The fact of where the DNA came from is a whole other story, which still makes me think, could that be Tornetti's kid? And your overall thoughts of it. Again, it was a nice treat, which, unless we get otherwise, I think this is really the last thing Kishimoto will be penning for the Naruto story for a long time. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed anything about this video, make sure to drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk me on Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.